I never imagined I'd one day have to defend my own home from someone trying to steal it. And definitely not from Karen Winters, the self-proclaimed queen of our homeowners association. It all started 6 months ago, when I moved into Willow Creek Estates, a picture-perfect suburban neighborhood where the grass was as fake as the smiles. White fences, manicured lawns, and people who measure their worth by the shade of their hedges. I'm an architect who works from home. After years of saving, I'd finally bought my dream house, a cozy 2-story with wide windows and an old oak tree out front. The first day I moved in, I met her, clipboard in hand, posture straight, smile tighter than a locked vault. "Welcome to Willow Creek," she said, but it sounded less like a greeting and more like a warning. "I'm Karen Winters, president of the HOA. You'll need to review our bylaws immediately. We don't tolerate rule breakers here." Before I could respond, she shoved a massive 3-inch binder into my hands, hundreds of pages of regulations. Then she looked past me, scanning my moving boxes like she was inspecting contraband. "Your mailbox is 2 inches taller than regulation," she said sharply. "You'll need to replace it within 7 days or face a fine." I forced a polite smile. "I'll take care of it." That seemed to disappoint her, as if she wanted to fight. Later, my neighbor Tom, a friendly guy in his 40s, gave me the lowdown. "She thrives on confrontation," he warned. "Karen's been HOA president for 5 years. Nobody runs against her because she'll make your life miserable. Most of us just stay off her radar." For a while, I did exactly that. I followed every rule, paid every fee, and kept my head down. But that all changed when I planted a vegetable garden in my backyard. According to the HOA rules, gardens were fine as long as they weren't visible from the street. Mine wasn't. It sat behind a decorative fence. But that didn't stop Karen from showing up at my door one Saturday morning, red-faced and furious. "Your garden violates Section 12, Paragraph 4 of our bylaws," she snapped. "Vegetable gardens must be approved by the Landscaping Committee, which I chair." I calmly flipped through her own binder. "Actually," I said, "the bylaws only say the garden must not be visible from the street. There's nothing about committee approval." Her smile vanished. "Then perhaps the bylaws need updating. Remove it by Monday or face a $50 daily fine." I refused. That's when the war began. Karen started citing me for every tiny thing imaginable. Grass too long by a 1/4 inch, trash bins visible for 30 minutes after pickup, even the color of my garden hose. She said it was too distracting. The fines piled up, but I fought every one of them during HOA meetings, quoting her own rules back to her. The board members, clearly exhausted by her tyranny, often sided with me. Each time they overruled her, I could see the fury simmering beneath a smile. After one particularly heated meeting, she cornered me in the parking lot. "You think you're clever," she hissed. "Nobody makes me look foolish in front of the board. Nobody. You'll regret moving into Willow Creek." I laughed it off. That was my first mistake. Because Karen Winters didn't make idle threats, and I was about to find out just how far she'd go. 2 weeks later, I woke up at 3 a.m. with unbearable pain in my stomach. By sunrise, I was in an ambulance, and by the next day, I was lying in a hospital bed after emergency surgery. My appendix had ruptured, and the infection had spread fast. What was supposed to be a routine operation turned into a near-death experience. I spent 3 miserable weeks in the hospital, barely conscious for most of it. While I was fighting for my life, Karen Winters was plotting to steal my home. When I finally returned home, weak, pale, and grateful just to be alive, I noticed something strange, a notice taped to my front door. It looked official, HOA letterhead, legal tone, stamped and signed. Notice of abandoned property. The property located at my address has been claimed by the Willow Creek Homeowners Association under abandonment policy. The home is now under new ownership. Below that was a signature, Karen Winters, and at the bottom, a shocking statement. Deed transfer recorded. Property sold for $1. My heart stopped. I called the county clerk immediately, and to my horror, the records confirmed it. There was a deed on file, notarized, transferring ownership of my house to Karen Winters. According to the paperwork, I had appeared in person and signed over my house 2 weeks earlier, the exact time I was unconscious in the ICU. "This is fraud," I told the clerk. "I couldn't have signed anything. I was hospitalized." The clerk sympathized, but said I'd need to file a legal challenge to reverse the transfer. Meanwhile, Karen had already filed an eviction notice. I had 72 hours to vacate what was supposedly now her property. Panicked, I called my cousin Jennifer, a real estate attorney. She arrived within the hour, flipping through the documents with disbelief. "This is open-end shut fraud," she said, "but we have to move fast." That night, Jennifer filed an emergency injunction to stop the eviction while I gathered evidence. I requested hospital record proving my hospitalization and installed security cameras around the property, just in case Karen tried anything else. The next morning, as I sat at my kitchen table, sipping coffee with shaky hands, I saw her through the window, Karen, standing at my front door again. She wasn't alone. 2 large men stood behind her. "Good morning," she said, smiling sweetly. "These gentlemen will help you move your belongings. I've generously given you until 5 p.m. to vacate." I stepped into the doorway, blocking her path. "Karen," I said, voice low and steady, "you forged legal documents while I was in the hospital. That's a felony. My attorney has already filed an injunction and criminal charges." For a moment, her confident smile cracked. "That's ridiculous," she said. "You signed the papers yourself. I have a notarized deed." I held up my hospital records. "These show I was unconscious from sepsis. And just so you know," I pointed at a security camera above my door, "you've just been recorded admitting you expect me to vacate a property you fraudulently claimed." The 2 men behind her exchanged nervous looks. "We were told this was a legal eviction," one muttered. "Way out." They walked off, leaving Karen standing alone, trembling with rage. "You think you're clever," she spat. "You'll regret this." But that day, the judge granted our injunction, stopping her in her tracks. And that was only the beginning of her downfall. 3 weeks later, the courtroom was packed. Karen walked in like she owned the place. Perfect suit, perfect hair, fake confidence. The judge, a stern woman with steel-gray eyes, reviewed the evidence. Karen's lawyer mumbled something about a misunderstanding. The judge's expression hardened. "Counsel," she said coldly, "the evidence shows your client forged document to claim ownership of a home while its rightful owner was hospitalized with a life-threatening condition. There is no misunderstanding here, only criminal fraud." When Karen took the stand, her story fell apart instantly. She insisted I'd signed the papers before going to the hospital. Then Jennifer presented timestamped hospital records proving I was under sedation at that exact time. Karen's voice cracked. "He was going to sell it to me anyway. We had an understanding. I just expedited the paperwork." Jennifer tilted her head. "A verbal agreement," she said, "with a man unconscious in intensive care? That's your testimony." Karen's mask finally shattered. She slammed her hands on the table. "He didn't deserve that house. He broke every rule. The garden, the mailbox, the hose. Someone had to teach him a lesson." The courtroom went silent. Even her attorney buried his face in his hands. The judge's verdict was swift and merciless. "Mrs. Winters, you knowingly and willfully committed forgery, fraud, and attempted theft of real property, serious felonies in this state. You will be held without bail pending sentencing." Karen froze as a bailiff stepped forward, cuffs glinting under the lights. "You can't be serious," she cried. "I'm the HOA president. People respect me." The judge's reply was icy. "You should have considered that before committing felony fraud." The gavel struck. Karen Winters, once a terror of Willow Creek, was led away in handcuffs, her reign finally over. I stood there, the weight of everything hitting me at once. My home was safe, my name cleared, my peace restored, and as I looked out at the quiet streets of Willow Creek, I couldn't help but think, for the first time since moving in, the neighborhood actually felt peaceful.